December of 2017, Larrimah was home to just 12 people. But by January of 2018, the population had dipped to 11, and every single one of them was about to become a suspect in a murder investigation. Today's case takes place in Australia's Northern Territory, in a tiny town called Larrimah. Patrick Joseph Moriarty, known as Paddy, was born on the 30th of March 1947 in County Limerick, situated in the southwest of Ireland, to his mother Mary Moriarty, and was raised there before immigrating to Australia in 1966 at 18 or 19 years old. After arriving in Australia, Paddy made his way to Brunette Downs Station, where he worked as a ringer, station hand, and grader driver. He also took place in rodeos, winning a belt buckle in Darwin when he was 49 years old. In his younger years, he was in a relationship with a woman named Dorothy Rankine, who also worked on stations, but sadly they separated when she retired, and she passed away sometime in 2000. Paddy was known to have had another relationship, spanning 2000 to 2003, but since then had been embracing the bachelor life. It is unknown whether he had any children, as another resident of the town said that Paddy had told her that he fathered 9 children with an Aboriginal woman during his time at Brunette Downs Station, but there is no official record of this. Just to further muddy things, Paddy was quoted as saying, "I've never had a missus, just me dog, no dramas," in the 2013 book, Every Man and His Dog. He was described as a larrikin, scallywag, and a great storyteller. Someone you could always rely on for a laugh, a good-natured, happy-go-lucky man, but was also described as a bit of a troublemaker that wasn't afraid to let you know if he had an issue with you. At the time of this case, Paddy was 5'5", weighed around 66 kilograms, and was almost never seen without his cap or cowboy hat on, as he was bald and was insecure about the shape of his head. He also had a heart bypass surgery and stents implanted in 2006. In 2005, Paddy moved an hour north from Daly Waters to Larrimah, and in 2010 he purchased a disused service station named the Top of the Town for $30,000. Paddy lived there with his black and white border collie Rover. Larrimah is situated just over 400 kilometers southeast of the Northern Territory's capital, Darwin, and 158 kilometers south of Katherine on the Stuart Highway, which connects Alice Springs to Darwin. In World War II, Larrimah served as a military outpost and transfer point for Army personnel and supplies, but since then, the population had been steadily dwindling, dipping to just 12 people by 2017. The nearest services are located 76 kilometers away in a town called Mataranka, which itself is home to just over 300 people, and as of 2022, there was still no mobile reception in Larrimah, with the only way for passers-through to make a call being the single payphone booth in town. Despite its tiny population, Larrimah does have some amenities. Apart from an old war museum, Larrimah is also home to the Larrimah Hotel, more often known as the Pink Panther, which was run by Barry Sharp at the time of this case. The Pink Panther is home to the NT's highest bar, several giant Pink Panther statues, a zoo with a 3.8-meter-long saltwater crocodile named Sneaky Sam, a blind freshwater crocodile, and over 700 other animals and birds, including emus, wallabies, snakes, and squirrel gliders. Barry was traveling around Australia in the 90s when he arrived in Larrimah and never left, eventually becoming the publican over a decade later. The hotel provides accommodation to those passing through town, and the locals go there to socialize. At one time, it was open 24/7, giving the people of the town a place to go when they felt like getting out of the house. It also served as a post office, convenience store, and a bus depot, so it really was the hub of the town. Barry and Paddy first met in Daly Waters, and once Paddy moved to Larrimah, they became good friends. Paddy was a regular at the hotel, working there most days, cleaning the camp toilets, doing laundry, and performing general upkeep of the rooms and gardens. English comedian and journalist Dom Joly told the ABC, "Larrimah is like nowhere else I think I've ever been. It's like if you dropped a kind of weird bar in a post-apocalyptic sort of scenario." Larrimah is also home to Fran's Devonshire tea house, which was located in a disused police station directly opposite Paddy's residence and next to the only phone booth in town. Fran Hodgetts, born in 1943, moved to Larrimah when she was 40 years old with her then partner, Billy Hodgetts. Fran's tea house was known for serving homemade meat pies. Fran and Billy had both met Paddy decades earlier, and they were all on good terms when Paddy purchased his property, with Fran even bringing Paddy food following his bypass surgery in 2006. However, things did not remain friendly for long. Between 2010 and Paddy's disappearance in 2017, Fran filed 9 complaints with the police regarding Paddy. In June 2010, a red yard umbrella worth $200 went missing from Fran's property, and she accused Paddy of stealing it. He told the police that he had heard about these accusations, and apparently, in an effort to stir her up, he got a red umbrella from the Pink Panther and placed it on a table at the front of his property where Fran could see it, leading to the first of many complaints. In July of 2010, Fran complained that books and memorabilia were missing from her tea house, and she suspected Paddy had taken them, although she later conceded that tourists could have been responsible. In July of 2011, Fran filed 2 complaints about Paddy threatening tourists and scaring them away from her business. Paddy had fenced off the front of his property to stop tourists parking there while visiting Fran's tea house, and reportedly placed a glass bottle under one vehicle's tires while it was parked at the front of Paddy's residence. In September of 2011, Fran accused Paddy of breaking a plastic fitting on her water pump hose. Police attended and found what appeared to be a perished O-ring. In March of 2013, Paddy was served with a trespass notice, which prohibited him from entering Fran's property, after Paddy and his dog Rover were seen in Fran's yard at 9:45 p.m. Billy went out to the yard to ask Paddy what he was doing, and Paddy said that his dog Rover had wandered into their yard, and he had gone in to retrieve him. According to Fran, Paddy had been turning her open sign to close to interfere with business. In April of 2014, Fran accused Paddy of stalking her, claiming that Paddy would sit in his front yard with binoculars and tell potential customers that the food was not very good. In September of 2016, Paddy and Fran drew up an agreement for how they were to conduct themselves around each other. The agreement included things like limiting interaction to necessity and, if one person waves, the other must wave back. Both parties signed this, even going so far as to have it officially witnessed. But in October of 2016, Fran applied to the court for a restraining order against Paddy. The court dismissed her application and ordered Fran to pay $500 in costs to Paddy. Sometime between 2013 and 2017, Billy and Fran separated. After Billy refused to leave the house, Fran contacted the police, who told her that it was a civil matter, but that she could change the locks and put his belongings outside when he left the property, which she did. Billy began living in a caravan parked at the Larrimah Hotel, and this caused an even bigger rift in the community, with many residents, including Paddy, taking Billy's side in the divorce. Finally, in both August and September of 2017, Fran accused her now ex-husband Billy and Paddy of pouring oil and Roundup over her new plants in order to kill them. Although Fran had CCTV on her property, she said the wires had been cut, and so she had no proof of who was responsible. In addition to this, there were also intermittent reports that Fran and Paddy would move dead kangaroos to each other's side of the road. During 2011, a series of interviews were conducted with the residents of Larrimah, and Paddy did not hold back, saying that his dog wouldn't eat Fran's pies, and when asked, he said people in the town do not get along well. In fact, it appears that no one in Larrimah was universally liked by the rest of the town, with some people even going as far as to openly talk about wanting to physically harm other residents. In these interviews, it becomes obvious that there is some real division in the town, and they serve as a valuable source of information about the dynamics of Larrimah. Here's a rundown of the remaining residents. Bobby Roth had lived in Larrimah with her husband Carl Roth since 1998. Bobby worked for Fran, washing dishes for an hour or two a day for $10 an hour, during which time her husband Carl undertook odd jobs for her, performing handyman duties for her, such as installing CCTV cameras. In earlier life, Carl Roth had been in the Army for around 20 years, and after that he went to Western Australia to shoot feral animals. Later in life, he began working for a museum in Alice Springs before moving to Larrimah. Until the recent past, Carl and Bobby had operated the local fire and emergency rescue services. Carl had previously confronted Paddy for starting fires when wildfire risk was at its highest, and Paddy made no attempt to hide his disdain for the couple during the interviews with the ABC. One of the Roths' daughters, Diane, had a lease on the Larrimah Hotel prior to Barry taking over, and she owned the Green Park Caravan Park. Diane was also actually the one who sold the top of the town to Paddy. The Green Park Caravan Park eventually burnt down, with allegations from the Larrimah Hotel side of town suggesting that it was an insurance job. The Roths and Fran believed Barry Sharp was responsible and had set fire to their property to quash potential competition, with both Barry and Fran having opposed a takeaway liquor license for the park previously. Either way, the Roths were out of town at the time, and the fire truck was unable to be accessed as they had the keys with them, resulting in the loss of the property. Investigators believe that the fire was intentionally lit, but no charges were able to be made due to lack of evidence. Richard Simpson was born in 1968 and had been working at the Larrimah Hotel as a bartender for about 9 months prior to Paddy going missing. He had been to Larrimah previously about 9 years earlier and had also worked at the Pink Panther then. Richard had first met Paddy at the Daly Waters Hotel, and Richard, Barry, and Paddy sat talking at the front of the hotel most days, greeting guests and chatting between themselves. Barry Burke, known as Cookie, was born in 1946 and moved to Larrimah around 20 years prior to Paddy's disappearance, to work with Billy Hodgetts at an Alice Springs earthworks company. He had retired around 5 years before Paddy's disappearance and lived alone. Barry Burke first met Paddy at the Daly Waters pub approximately 7 or 8 years before Paddy went missing. 4 to 5 years prior to his disappearance, Barry said he had a big blue with Paddy at the hotel when Paddy accused him of stealing a Mars bar. They had since patched things up and were cordial, but Barry generally stayed away from the pub except to collect his mail. Leonard Hodson had lived in Larrimah on and off for around 14 years and had known Paddy for the entire time, saying they were good mates, and that although they had arguments in the past, they always made up over a beer. Karen and Mark Rayner had moved to Larrimah in November of 2015 and were the youngest permanent residents at the time of this case, at 48 and 62 years old respectively. Karen Rayner originally worked at the Larrimah Hotel, feeding the animals, until she was promoted in March 2016 to manager. In mid-2017, a dispute arose between Karen and Richard Simpson when he accused her of taking money from the cash register. After this, the Rayners took a break from going to the hotel, but remained close friends with Paddy. Mark Rayner was in the process of repairing Paddy's lawnmower when he went missing. David Graham, born in 1947, was a station worker that actually lived in Kununurra, about 7 hours away from Larrimah, but had been staying in Larrimah for around 6 weeks at the time of Paddy's disappearance due to a shortage of work on the cattle station. In the days leading up to his disappearance, David had returned to Kununurra to re-register a vehicle and had been out of town at the time Paddy went missing. Residents of Larrimah had been known to fight over everything from a buffalo that was shot and eaten, pet peacocks fed to a crocodile as revenge, the street names of the town, and a speed bump someone had secretly installed in the dead of the night. All in all, there was a lot of conflict for a town so small. In late 2016, Paddy's beloved dog Rover sadly passed away. After about a year, Paddy decided he was ready for another dog, and in November of 2017, he was given an 11-month-old Kelpie named Kellie by a friend who worked on a cattle station because she seemed like she was better suited to being a pet than a working dog. In early August 2017, Fran put an ad in the Catherine Times newspaper looking for a caretaker and gardener, and at the end of the month, she placed 2 more ads looking for a wet season casual. A man named Owen Laurie made contact and began working as caretaker and gardener at Fran's tea house in early September 2017 in exchange for free meals and accommodation. Fran later said that she placed this ad because her property was getting damaged all the time and that having Owen around made her feel safe. Owen Laurie was born in 1946, making him 71 years old at the time of Paddy's disappearance. Owen had worked on railways during his 20s and early 30s, apparently taking part in the underground boxing scene before moving on to the timber industry. After that, he had a few jobs here and there before settling into mine maintenance in Pine Creek, Northern Territory. He retired at 65 and lived in his caravan at Mambaloo Station, where he worked as a boar runner. In 2017, there was talk of selling the station, and so when a friend showed Owen an advertisement in the local paper for a gardener and caretaker, he called Fran, and she asked him to come for an interview. Once Owen arrived for the interview, Fran told him about her problems with Paddy, and he said that if he had been told that beforehand, he would not have agreed to the interview. Despite this, he took the position anyway, and he later said that he could smell glyphosate poisoning in Fran's ferns from when Paddy and Billy had allegedly poisoned her plants. When Fran told Owen about her garden being poisoned, he said, "Nobody'd want to touch the garden. I'll look after it for you." Owen did not associate with anyone in Larrimah other than Fran, who also said they did not interact a lot. When asked, most residents said they had never seen him, with some being completely unaware of his existence. According to other residents, Paddy and Owen had at least one argument over Kellie, who would wander onto Fran's property from time to time and stir up Owen's dog. Paddy apparently told a customer at the Pink Panther named Kylie Rickson that them over the road, they don't like her. If Kellie keeps on barking, they're going to shoot her. Mr. Laurie also said there was an occasion where Kellie came across the road and started barking at him while he was fencing, so he said he hunted it back. According to Owen, although he heard a lot about Paddy, he had only spoken to him on the morning of December 13, 2017. Fran confirmed that Owen had told her that afternoon that he had just had words with him about the dog coming across the road. When questioned about this after the disappearance, Owen said that he had told Paddy to keep his fucking dog at home. Paddy reportedly told him to shut up, and Owen told him to come over here. Owen said voices were not raised, Paddy did not go over there, that they both returned to what they were doing, with nothing more being said. At this time, Richard Simpson was having a morning coffee out the front of the Pink Panther with his 3 American staffies. He said that he heard Kellie start barking, and initially he didn't think anything of it, but then he heard yelling, and one of his dogs began to bark. All 3 dogs started heading towards the raised voices, but Richard called them back. He said he saw Paddy walk out to get Kellie during the yelling, but that he wasn't able to hear what was said. Later that day, Richard asked Paddy what had happened, and Paddy said that Owen had yelled out that, "You need to shut that fucking dog up or I'll shut it for you." Paddy said he responded by saying, "You mind your business, old man. My dog can bark where it wants. It's none of your business. Shut your mouth or I'll take your knees out from under you." Richard reportedly told Paddy to be careful, and Paddy replied, "It's all good. I've got a baseball bat." Barry Sharp also said that Paddy had told him he was having ongoing arguments with the new caretaker at Fran's place. Fran went to Darwin in the days following this and returned on the afternoon of the 15th of December, having purchased some plants and water features for her garden. Owen reportedly told her that he hadn't done much while she was away, staying inside to avoid any hassles. On the afternoon 15th of December, Paddy stopped in at Mark and Karen Rayner's house for about 40 minutes. Paddy picked up his swag, which had been left at the Rayners by someone else, and it was later noted that the same swag was still in the back of his vehicle after he went missing. On the 16th of December, Owen and Fran set up the water features and planted the new additions to the garden. Fran closed the tea house at 11:30 a.m. that day, due to there being no customers. That day, Paddy followed his usual routine, which consisted of walking his dog down the rubbish dump road before circling back to his house. He would then take his quad bike to the Pink Panther, with Kellie riding along on the back. Paddy would usually work at the hotel until around midday, then would sit and have beers with the other locals and anyone that happened to be traveling through, greeting guests as they came in with a cheerful smile and a casual, "How's it going, folks?" Usually Paddy would head home at about 4:30 p.m., but if he was having a good time, he would often stay later. On this particular morning, Kellie and Paddy arrived at the Pink Panther at around 9 a.m. Paddy went about his usual duties, cleaning the toilets and showers. In the afternoon, he went to the bar area, and at 2:29 p.m., he made a transaction, withdrawing $40 at the bar. This was also a part of his routine. Paddy would withdraw $40, giving $20 to the barman in return for 4 XXXX Gold beers. He would put 3 of the cans in a staff refrigerator at the front of the hotel and started drinking. Once he finished those beers, he would get another 4 and take those to the refrigerator. A couple and their young daughter left Catherine at around midday, purchasing some food, which included a barbecue chicken, before traveling to Larrimah, where they stopped for lunch. After finishing most of their roast chicken, they decided to stop in at the Larrimah Hotel to have a drink and see the animals. During the course of the afternoon, they met Paddy and the other locals who were at the bar. Their young daughter patted Kellie, and her mother took some photographs of her daughter at the front of the hotel. These photographs show Paddy sitting in his usual chair to the left of the entrance and would be the last photos ever taken of him. He was last seen wearing a light-colored singlet, dark shorts, a silver watch, a cap, and black flip-flops. According to Richard Simpson, Paddy left the Pink Panther at approximately 6:30 p.m. on Saturday evening, having a little bit of a wobbly boot, but not being drunk. This was corroborated by Barry Sharp, who said Paddy had consumed about 10 cans of beers that day, compared with his usual 8. Richard mistakenly believed it to have been Thursday or Friday evening originally, but has since described Larrimah as a kind of time warp, where everything moves slowly and every day is the same, so he was never sure of exact dates or days, and this is why he was initially confused. Regardless, he agrees that he was present on the last occasion Paddy was seen. Before leaving the hotel, Paddy told Barry Sharp, the owner of the Pink Panther, that he wouldn't come in to work the following day, but that he would stop in at lunchtime to borrow his lawnmower so that he could cut his grass. It was their Sunday ritual to sit and watch Landline. They called it church, and Barry expected to see him there as usual. Paddy climbed onto his quad bike and told Kellie to jump on the back. The mother of the young child who had patted Kellie asked Paddy if he would like the leftover chicken for her, and he accepted. She handed him the chicken, and Paddy left the hotel, heading in the direction of his house, a few hundred meters away. This would be the last confirmed sighting of Paddy Moriarty. At 6:30 p.m., a phone call was made from the public telephone booth, with another following 1 minute later at 6:31 p.m. Neither of the calls connected. That night, beginning at around 10:20 p.m., there was a significant amount of rain, but it had cleared by morning. Some residents thought they might have heard a gunshot that night, but none of them were certain. On Sunday, Barry first noticed something was amiss when his friend failed to show up for church and did not collect the lawnmower, but thought that perhaps Paddy had gone to visit a friend. At approximately 10 a.m. on Monday, the 18th of December, Barry Sharp was becoming increasingly concerned for Paddy, so he went to his house and knocked on the door, but received no reply. Barry went to the back of the property and found a screen door that was unlocked, with a mat and Besser block resting beside it. This door could only be locked from the inside, and Paddy always locked the back door if he left Larrimah for an extended period of time, but otherwise he usually kept it unlocked, leaning the mat and Besser block against it to keep it closed. Upon entering the house, Barry found everything to be neat and tidy, as per usual. Paddy was nowhere to be found, and neither was his dog, Kellie. The back gate to the property was open, which Paddy always closed if he left town, to prevent feral donkeys from coming onto his property. Upon seeing this, Barry thought that Paddy may have gone out walking with the dog, so he drove along the dump road to search for him in case he had gotten disoriented or had a medical episode. When he was unable to find his friend, Barry returned to the hotel and discussed the situation with some other residents, including Karen and Mark Rayner, who were upset that they hadn't been told earlier, with Mark reportedly saying that Paddy was probably the only person in Larrimah that the couple would have gone out of their way to help. They went to look for Paddy the following morning, on Tuesday the 19th of December, and discovered that his rain gauge, which Paddy emptied every morning, had not been touched, indicating he had been missing since the night of the 16th of December, when it last rained. They also noted that his sunglasses were hanging on the left handle of his quad bike, which was parked in its usual place in the carport, beside his four-wheel drive vehicle. As they made their way through his house, they saw his quad bike keys were on the table, but not his four-wheel drive keys. His reading glasses and a key card were also on the table, along with his cap. The kitchen fan was on, and food containers were spread across the table, as if Paddy was about to sit down for a meal. Paddy's bed did not look like it had been slept in. Perhaps the most alarming discovery inside the residence, though, was Paddy's cowboy hat. Mark and Karen, assuming that Paddy had a medical episode while out walking, went searching along the roads for him, but when they also were unable to find any sign of either Paddy or Kellie, after 3 hours of thorough searching in the sweltering Australian heat, Mark was suffering from heat stroke, and so they returned to the hotel and asked Barry Sharp to call the police, which he did at 4 p.m. that day. The police arrived on Wednesday afternoon and began a search of Paddy's residence. Inside the microwave sat what was left of the barbecue chicken the passers-through had given to Kellie. They also discovered Paddy's medication still in the refrigerator and a baseball bat underneath his bed. All of Paddy's belongings were inside his residence, and it seemed as if Paddy was midway through eating some dim sims when he mysteriously vanished. He also had a calendar that he crossed off each day, with the last date that was crossed off being the 15th. At this stage, it was believed by most that Paddy had probably taken Kellie for a walk and had a medical event while out, so the search was aimed at roadways as well as 20 meters on either side of them. Eventually, helicopters were brought in to help search an area of 2 square kilometers. On Saturday, the 23rd of December, the search was suspended after the team received medical advice that Paddy would have been unlikely to survive in the elements, particularly in Australia's summer, for more than a few days. When interviewed by the police, Billy Hodgetts said that he believes he last saw Paddy on the morning of the 16th. He said that Paddy had not mentioned any health issues lately. Billy also told the police that Paddy's disappearance was completely out of character. Leonard Hodson said that the last time he had seen Paddy was at the Pink Panther, possibly on the morning of the 16th. The two had talked about holiday plans, with Leonard telling Paddy that he was heading to Victoria in the next couple of days, and Paddy mentioned he was thinking of going to visit a friend in Queensland. He said that if he did decide to go, he would put Kellie in a kennel and fly there. Upon hearing Paddy was missing, Leonard drove over to his property to make sure that he wasn't trapped under a vehicle, but didn't go inside the residence. He left Larrimah to travel to Victoria on the 19th of December. Bobby Roth told the police that she believes she last saw Paddy on the 14th or 15th of December driving his quad bike to the hotel. Carl Roth told police that the last time he saw Paddy was on the 14th of December when Paddy was towing a trailer to the rubbish dump behind his quad bike. Barry Burke said that he last saw Paddy on the 13th of December, 2017, when he went to the hotel to collect his mail. They exchanged greetings, and then he went home and reportedly did not leave his residence again until Sunday, the 17th of December. When asked, he said that he didn't believe anyone would hurt Paddy, saying, "He is a bit of a shit stirrer, but not enough for anyone to knock him off." Although he went on to say that Paddy was his own worst enemy and would make trouble in an empty house. Barry told police that he thought Paddy might have gone to visit friends or gone for a walk with his dog and fallen into a sinkhole. David Graham told police that he had gone back to Kununurra for 13 days to re-register a vehicle and said he only got back to Larrimah on the 22nd of December. Detectives were able to confirm that he had entered Western Australia on the 26th of November. They were also able to confirm that he was at the Kununurra Motor Vehicle Registry on the 15th of December. Although it was unable to be established when David crossed the border back into the Northern Territory, his phone records place him in Kununurra on the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 17th, 18th, and 19th of December. While there were no phone calls and no bank transactions made on the 16th December to place him in Kununurra, it is not believed that he made the 14.5-hour round trip to Larrimah during this time. On the 28th of December, the police began conducting an evidence search, which covered 85 square kilometers and sent divers into a nearby dam. The search concluded 2 days later, on the 30th of December, after finding no evidence. This search also involved searching the rubbish dump and included a warrant for Fran and Owen's residence, vehicles, and assets. They took at least one vehicle into custody under suspicion of traces of blood, but did not find anything conclusive. Interestingly, Owen was reported to have sold his car shortly afterwards. Forensic teams also inspected an incinerator on Fran's property, as well as her freezers and kitchen, but found nothing. The team also tested the crocodile habitats at Larrimah Hotel, but found no evidence of human remains. A further evidence search was conducted from the 11th to the 14th of May 2018. At this stage, it was still considered possible that Paddy may have died of a medical event while out, and his remains could have been eaten by wild animals or missed during searches. What made that scenario less likely was the disappearance of his dog, Kellie, that he had not returned the mat and Besser block to their place at the rear door. His bank accounts remained untouched, and all his belongings were still inside his residence, indicating that whatever had happened to him had happened quickly, not giving him much time to react. This put a bit of a damper on the theory that he might have gone for a casual stroll and met with misfortune. As time passed and it started to look more and more likely that foul play was involved in Paddy's disappearance, residents started coming forward with their own theories. One theory had some residents speculating that Paddy had been murdered by either Fran, Owen, or both of them, and baked into Fran's meat pies, with someone even placing a sign on the highway advertising Fran's Sweeney Todd pies. Interestingly, Fran was also questioned in another missing persons case, that of then 26-year-old New Zealander Jamie Herdman, after she was one of the last people to see him before he disappeared in 2006. Fran denied any link to his disappearance and even put up missing posters to help find him. Detective Sergeant Matt Allen, who led the investigation into Paddy's disappearance, said there was no evidence to indicate any link whatsoever between these two cases, but it does highlight how easily someone can disappear in the remote Australian outback. Another theory put forward by Mark and Karen Rayner painted Richard Simpson as a potential suspect. Despite his close friendship with Paddy, the couple suggested they may have had a recent falling out over Paddy getting more work at the hotel than Richard. Richard was also one of the few people able to get near Kellie, who hated most people. In response to these allegations, Richard said he found it all really insulting because he hates working. He also said he had enough dogs of his own, with one just recently having puppies around the time of Paddy's disappearance. When asked, Richard said, "I didn't do it. Me and Paddy had a few arguments about this, that, or the other, but never had a crossword that evening." A third theory suggested that perhaps Barry Sharp and Paddy had gotten into an argument, and that Barry had killed Paddy and fed him to his crocodile to dispose of his remains. In support of this theory, people point to Barry not calling the police until Tuesday, despite Paddy telling him he would be around on Sunday, as well as his attitude towards the police, which was said to be standoff-ish. Over the following years, police continued to investigate Paddy's disappearance, including offering a $250,000 reward. Further allegations were put forward in 2018 and 2019 by people who believed they had important information related to the case. On the 30th of September 2018, a truck driver named Michael Panqui contacted police with information about who may have killed Paddy and his dog. He said that while in Broome at the beginning of the year, a workmate had told him that he and a friend had picked up Paddy and his dog and had driven to a quarry in Mataranka. The friend told Michael that they had a drink, and then his friend snuck up behind Paddy, shooting him and then his dog, before burying them nearby in a grave dug previously. When asked about the reliability of what he had been told, Michael told police he would put it at 50-50 odd that his workmate was telling the truth. Police investigated this theory and found that phone data, as well as work timesheets, showed that both the workmate and his friend were in Western Australia on December 16th. Police also searched around the quarry and found nothing. When questioned by the police, both the workmate and his friend denied knowing Paddy, having ever been to Larrimah, or having any involvement in his disappearance. Police also investigated Michael Panqui's whereabouts on the 16th of December, and they found that he was in Darwin during that time. On the 11th of July 2019, a man named Wayne Ledwidge gave police a statement saying that on a date late in 2017, he attended the Katherine Government Center with his neighbor, Brian Roberts. At the MVR office, a woman, who he later identified as Fran Hodgetts, had a conversation with Brian. His recollection of that conversation was, she said that the old man was still giving her a hard time and has taken her to court, costing her a lot of money. She said she needed to get rid of him, and she would pay $10,000. She said she had $9,000 cash, but could get more. She then allegedly wrote down her phone numbers on the back of papers Brian was carrying, and once back in the vehicle, Brian told Wayne that his friend would do it for $10,000. Wayne said it was only weeks later when the news came over the radio that Paddy and his dog went missing. Brian allegedly said to Wayne, he didn't need to do the dog. Brian passed away in hospital on the 14th of April 2019 of natural causes, and as a result was unable to provide any information that could be helpful to the investigation. An analysis of Brian's phone was also of no help, with most of the calls were made to Wayne, a female friend, the health clinic, and a neighbor. The neighbor's phone was at all times in Katherine, or north of Katherine, on the 16th of and 17th of December 2017, ruling them out as a suspect. Looking further into this, the investigation established that Wayne, Brian, and Fran were all in Katherine on a number of occasions. However, Brian's phone records did not indicate any calls to phone numbers identified as belonging to Fran. Phone data placed both Wayne Ledwidge and Brian Roberts at Katherine, or north of Katherine, on the 16th and 17th of December. When asked if he knew Brian to be the sort of person involved in murder-for-hire work, Wayne said that he did not know him as such, but that on another occasion, Brian and Wayne were watching TV when a news segment about Bradley John Murdoch, the man convicted of murdering British backpacker Peter Falconio, came on. Brian allegedly shouted at the TV, "You've got the wrong man, he's buried under a tree." A coronial inquest was opened on the 7th of June 2018, during which Bobby Roth gave evidence that while working at Fran's tea house, she had heard Fran say on several occasions that she will kill Paddy and that she would have him killed. Her husband, Carl Roth, said that he had also heard her say this, but he said that he did not take it seriously. Fran herself did not deny saying this, telling an interviewer that it was a figure of speech and that everyone says that. In fact, when asked how many times she guessed she had said this, Fran replied, "Fucking millions of times." Bobby also told the inquest that Fran had given her $30,000 to hold for her, apparently to hide from Bill. Fran had arranged to pick up the money at some stage, though, and during their search of Fran's property, the police found $7,000 stored inside her freezer. Another employee of Fran's, named Maurice Darby, testified that every day she would swear at Paddy across the highway, shouting, "Why don't you go back to Ireland?" Evidence given by Fran stated that Owen was putting some new plants along the fence line, when Fran warned him not to plant them there because the boys would poison them if he put them there. He replied, "Any fucking bastard comes in here and poisons my fucking garden, it'll be the first murder in Larrimah." When asked about this, Mr. Laurie did agree he had said that, but said it was a joke. Whether Fran believed Owen could be involved seemed to depend on the day, with her originally saying that she was sure he didn't do it, but then dismissing him from his position shortly after Paddy's disappearance. According to Fran, when the police first began searching for Paddy, Owen allegedly said to Fran, "I thought they came for me," which seemed to give her a moment of pause. The inquest heard that the calls made from the phone booth at 6:30 p.m. and 6:31 p.m. on the night of Paddy's disappearance were made by Owen after he reportedly received a malware message on his computer which advised him to call a telephone number. Despite this being around the time Paddy would have been heading home, Owen said that he did not see Paddy or even hear his quad bike. It was also revealed that during their search of Fran and Owen's residence on the 28th of December, a warrant had been issued, allowing police to install listening devices in Owen Laurie's residence. Between the 9th of January 2018 and the 5th of June 2018, Owen was recorded on multiple occasions talking and singing aloud to himself or his dog. During these recordings, he could be heard saying a number of interesting things, including, "Fucking idiots. Yeah, tell 'em what I've done. Hit with the fucking hammer. Yeah, tell 'em how I've hit you with the fucking hammer. I killerated old Paddy with that, fucking killerated him. I struck him on the fucking head and killerated him. Struck him on the fucking head and killerated the bastard. Smacked him on the fucking nostrils with me claw hammer. You gotta find out who fucking done it, mate. That's if you don't find the fucking body. To find out who done it. What you reckon there is a body somewhere and you want to find out who done it and who did it? I can tell you, you are not finding out. I tell you fucking repeatedly, you are not finding out. You are not finding out. He's a good bloke. He's a good bloke. He's a good bloke. He's terrible. No wonder I fucking belted him. He would have been yee-hee to the coppers. No wonder I fucking belt him, mate. He would have been going yee-hee-hee to the coppers. I tell you that. When confronted with these recordings, Owen denied that it was his voice and exercised his right to remain silent. Both Fran and Owen told the coroner that they would not have been physically capable of committing the murder, with Fran stating that she is riddled with arthritis and Owen claiming to have osteoporosis, saying, "If I did something violent like that, it would break all my bones." The coronial inquest into Paddy Moriarty's disappearance concluded that he was likely killed due to the ongoing feud he had with his nearest neighbors on the 16th of December 2017. Due to a lack of evidence, the Northern Territory Director of Public Prosecutions announced that it will not lay any charges in connection with Paddy Moriarty's disappearance or death. Since Paddy's disappearance, Barry Sharp honored his friend by naming his usual spot beside the bar door, Paddy's Corner. He told a reporter, "We would like to see more done. I know detectives are not magicians. I'd like them to at least give us a little bit of information, a little bit of hope that something's going to be done. We were good mates, very good mates. If ever I wanted a hand with anything, Paddy was always there. Never faltered. A good man, a very good man. 10 people live in this town. To my way of thinking, one of them's a murderer." Sadly, Barry was diagnosed with prostate cancer, which proved to be terminal. After his passing in 2019, he was buried in the Larrimah Bush Cemetery. Richard Simpson moved away from Larrimah following Paddy's disappearance, heading west to work on a farm. Leonard Hodson said of Paddy, "I miss his little antics, like riding his push bike home and riding through a barbed wire fence. Him and his old dog, Rover. When asked what he thought happened to Paddy, Leonard replied, "Wild pigs, dingoes, crocodiles. There's plenty of ways to get rid of a body, isn't there?" Mark Rayner said that Paddy's disappearance had changed everything in Larrimah, and the couple were thinking about moving on from Larrimah and heading to Darwin. Barry Burke also had plans to leave Larrimah and join his partner in Tasmania. After being dismissed from Fran's tea house shortly after the inquest, Owen Laurie left Larrimah. When asked about Owen Laurie, Detective Sergeant Matt Allen said, "The investigation is still ongoing with him." Bobby and Carl Roth continue to live in Larrimah. In 2018, Fran Hodgetts told the ABC that the last year had taken a devastating toll on her health and her business. Fran went to Melbourne to live with her daughter while receiving treatment for breast cancer, and her grandson, Brent Cilia, took over the tea house. Brent helps out at the Pink Panther from time to time and has expressed his desire for Paddy's case to be solved. Billy Hodgetts reportedly moved back into his and Fran's house, and the two were on good terms when he sadly passed away in 2022. Fran's cancer is currently in remission, and she hopes to return to Larrimah soon. In 2021, Larrimah's population had grown to 27 people, with the median age dropping to 37 years. Among the newcomers are a young couple from the Czech Republic, Andra and Lucy, who currently manage the Larrimah Hotel. In 2022, they welcomed a baby, the first in Larrimah for more than 40 years. On the 7th of May 2024, Paddy's house was sold at auction for $32,000. All residents of Larrimah continue to deny any knowledge of his whereabouts. If you have information that may assist police to locate Paddy, please call Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000.